Well, I'm just over here moving a 4x4. We still got plenty of scrap lumber from when they took down the stabilizing belt and the stabilizing internal supports. And this pile of wood over here in a field is going to be a pollinator garden. I've got grant funding from both the Carolina Butterfly Society and the South Carolina Native Plant Society to construct a pollinator-friendly, native plant-focused garden over here. And the reason why I'm choosing this site out here in the middle of the field is because this little area right here in the middle where I'm standing, there used to be an RV right here, and this little spot right here used to be a garden. And generally, this area right here is the only disturbed spot in this whole meadow. And there's a shallow well right there. So if I'm going to put in a low maintenance pollinator garden with landscape fabric and irrigation lines and all that jazz, and I'm going to ask volunteers to work on it, we're better than the only place in this meadow that has poor habitat and is next to a well. I was originally hoping to put it right there, but we think the cotton gin house was in one of these two locations right here. But it's hard to check because of where the RV was. So, you know, there's a nail field and trash and modern garbage over there that conflicts with the archaeologists' findings. So instead, I've sited it over here where we know the gin house wasn't. We're fairly certain the gin house was in line with the Hutchinson house and the old Clark Manor. So we think it was right here. So that's why I'm putting it here. Much rather put it there or there, especially there because that spot's really disturbed and there's a bunch of trash I'd like to clean up, and that gives me an excuse, but whatever. Plan is for 4 4-foot by 16-foot raised beds with as much dirt as I can get in them. And I lucked out. I thought I was going to have to spend more than half my grant funding on lumber, but guess who ended up with an absolute pile of treated 2x10s? This guy. Now, actually, I don't think they're treated now that I'm looking at them, but that doesn't matter. That's probably better for the soil anyway. They'll compost. So that'll be absolutely perfect. It'll take 8 full 2x10s to do all the sides, and then I'll take 2 more and chop them up into 4-foot sections. Maybe 3 if I don't have full ones. Some of these have sort of weird angles on them, and I can always make them smaller. I can fudge it a little bit. You know, I'm not locked into those dimensions. That's just what's easiest. And this is going to be very similar style to the garden that I made at Roxbury Park, except it's going to be bigger and betterer because I'm actually going to have infrastructure I can tap into. And yeah, well, the one there was much nicer from like a permaculture standpoint because it was just compost and wood chips and didn't have any plastic in there. All I really did was like 1 herbicide pre-treatment, and that's all it got. And of course I used synthetic fertilizers because I'm poor and I can't afford organic stuff. Also just because it's easier and they keep better. But yeah, we're gonna stick this bad boy right in here, put up a deer fence around it and all that jazz. Should be lovely. Still haven't quite determined the exact mix of plants I'm going to do or how I'm going to arrange them, or whether I'm going to do like 2-foot clumps or just full-on 4x4 clumps of stuff. And yeah, it's gonna be cool. It's gonna be great, and it should be open to the public hopefully by the end of this year, into next year, into 2021. So stay tuned, you'll be seeing more. Alright, well, here's step 1 and 2 of the process. I was just out starting to mow it and ran out of gas, and I realized I should probably be filming this since I was doing a video on it. So what I've done is I've come out and I've marked all of my corners just with some T-posts so that I know where the rough footprint is going to be. And now I'm just out here with the mower, mulching everything up, getting it nice and level so I can, properly plot this out exactly where I want it. And I'm going with about 40 foot by 26 foot. That's 16 plus 10 and whatever the math was. I think it was something like 28 plus 10, but I'm just going to 12 to make it easy, and it's actually a little bit further because of where the wood pile is. But it doesn't matter. I'm just going to cut all this anyway, and then we'll figure out the appropriate final corners by doing some trigonometry, because otherwise you're going to end up with like a rhombus if you don't plot it out all out perfectly. So I'm going to go grab the gas can and get back to mowing, but this is where she's going. This is the general site. Do you like my new pump cover over there? It's very snazzy. Thank you very much. All right, I'm gonna quit gabbing and start walking. There she is, all cleaned up. People are always surprised by the magic I can work with a lawn tractor. Can't quite do it with a zero turn, but you can push your way through this hay with a lawn tractor, and this stuff's real thin and real dry, so it really wasn't a challenge at all. But this is where she's gonna be. Like I was saying, she's a little bit further this way than I want because I got the wood in the wrong place. But this is what I'm looking for. Basically put the deer fence where the T-posts are, and then the first bed would start right about here, I reckon. And then next one would be here, and then third one here, and fourth one about here, and then it would go to about there. Then I'd have another 5 foot, but I've got about 7 because once again it's a little far that way. Probably should move it actually in more because this is going to be a driving path right here, so it's best to keep at least 8 foot, although we plan on getting rid of a lot of this. Alright, today is the day that we're actually going to build the beds, or at the very least the day that we're going to put in all of the corner posts, plot, measure everything out, put in the corner posts, and then lay out all of our lumber, make sure we have enough, and then cut everything to size, and then be ready to put in the bed. I don't know if I want to put in the side walls yet. I'm definitely going to put in the in walls, I think. But I don't know if I want to put in side walls because whenever I get compost delivered, I think it's going to be a lot easier for them to dump stuff in relatively the correct location. If I don't have the side walls and I can get the dump truck to back basically into the middle of the beds and just sort of dump a quarter of the load in each area. But at the very least, I'm going to get the posts in, and I'm going to get the in posts in. I'm going to get all of these boards cut. Now, before I do any of that, I need to take this 100-foot tape and measure my diagonals as well as all of my perpendicular lines, just to make sure that I have this plot the exact dimensions that I want and that I have it square. And I believe I'm going to err this way. I think that corner's in a good spot, so I think that's going to be my datum. I think that's where I'm going to measure everything off of. And I want this line right here to be, if anything, more so that way, and at the very least parallel to this road. I don't want this road getting any more narrow from here to there because that turns kind of sharp, and I want to err on bringing this stuff this way and that way so that I can increase the width of that road over there and loosen up that corner over there as far as that turning radius. Alright, as you can see here, we're a hair over 50 foot. I actually need to add 4 inches to this measurement because the way I have that hooked up to the post down there, I've sort of got a lark set on there and 4 inches of the tape is eaten up. So we're really at about 50 and a half feet here, and I'm aiming for 40. Alright, and with this one it's a lot easier math. It's a 16-foot long bed plus 5 to 6 foot on either side. So we're going to go with 6 foot to be even with the 40 foot over there. So that means 16 plus 12. So I'm looking for 28 plus the 4 inches for what I ate up over there. So 28 and 4, which is here. And we're sitting dead on 27. So I just need to move her back about 1.5 feet. And we'll call that one good. Alright, so we've driven in the 4th pole, and I just sort of lined it up diagonally where I think it's supposed to be with the other ones. And we've got her right at 40 and 4. And I need to be careful because the green side of this tape is 1/10 of a foot and the white side of the tape is inches. But anywho, I think it's actually 5 inches. I'm going to show you a quick little trick to do this without having to do trigonometry, if I can do it one-handed. So you see that we're at 40 and 4 inches. So I wrap this around, and now you see that we're at 40 and 9 inches. Now just add the extra distance you need to go, which is 28 feet. So that's 68 and 9 inches. And if you measure on your last pole, and it is bang on that, and you know that that distance is right and this distance is right, then you don't even have to mess around with trigonometry or the diagonals. And as you see right there, and as you see right there, I got it bang on the money, first try, eyeballing. I did not set that up. So that's awesome. We're going to reconfirm with diagonals. I believe the diagonal distance it needs to be is like 48, 10 inches, but because I've got some slop on these sides, it's probably 49 foot. So we're going to measure the diagonal from there to there and from here to here. And if they're identical, then we're good. And I'm just going to run with this. But as you see, we're at 48.9. So can't really get any better than that. All right. As you see here, we're right at 48 and 11 inches, except this is bent. So we're actually going to call that 48 and 10, which is exactly where it's supposed to be. And now we're going to measure that diagonal and hope that it's the same. All right, here's for all the marbles. Let me not walk into this thing. All right, let me cinch up on this guy. And we're a little over. So we're at 49 and 4 here. And I know that that pole is actually bending towards me a little bit. So we're off by about 5 inches, which in the grand scheme of things doesn't make any difference because I'm going to have to replace all of these with 8-foot posts anyway. So we're just going to call it good and not do anything else. This is what I was talking about. You see how I've got this set up? I'm actually about 5 inches short. That's why I'm adding 4 to 5 inches to everything. But now we're going to measure out the first bed. So I'm going to pull this out to right here, about 5.5 feet, and that's going to be my line for the first bed. Oh hey, I'm a dummy. I just realized I'm supposed to be subtracting 5 inches from everything, not adding it. I don't know how I messed that up. Anyway, I'm going to plot this out again because I just messed everything up. So these need to be 6 and not 5. Stand by. Alright, so I went and scavenged some sod staples to mark my corners, but before I do all of that, because I'm cheap and I'm using salvaged construction scrap, I need to go through here with my impact gun and disassemble all of these joined scrap pieces so that I can then take my tape measure and figure out what I have for 2x4s, 4x4s, and what have you. You know, the scrap pieces, 2x10 and all that, to see what I will have for the inboards from those guys. So I think I'll have almost enough, including that maybe, as well as these over here. I think I'll have enough inboards that I don't have to worry about cutting any off of these. And then I'm going to measure all of my 4x4s and these weird sistered furring strip thingies and all of these 2x4s to see what I have for length and dimension so that I can plot out to see if I have enough corner posts. And I think I'm just going to use a regular treated 2x4 for like an intermediate post to support the wall, and I won't put those in until I put the sidewalls in. Got a little Phoebe on my post. But anyway, that took way longer than it needed to, and I got all my screws out, and I'm going to try and reuse as many of them as I can, just because, once again, I'm cheap. And I've got all of these laid out, and that's going to be all the boards I need to do the posts. There's going to be, 2 2x4s in the center of each, and 2 4x4s on either end. And having that 2x4 in the middle will allow me to butt 2 8-foot boards together if need be, because I think a lot of these are like iffy on whether or not they're 16, so I think I may end up with a lot of 8-foots and a lot of 6-foots. So push comes to shove, I can butt them up on these 2x4s, and that'll give me enough. And I don't know if if I do have to do that, I think I'm also going to need to put a board in the middle and split the thing, which it's no problem at all. And I can do that. I got plenty of 4-foot, so that's not a problem. But the basic plan is I'm going to take every one of these 4x4s and cut them in half. I would like to have a 2-foot board, but all of these are about 40 inches, so we're going to run with 20 inches. Normally I wouldn't do that much for each corner. You know, I can make do with like 15 inches. But since a lot of these 4-foot boards that I have lying around, well, 6-foot boards, are actually 2x12s, I need to have at least 11 inches above the ground. You know, I don't really need to. I can, actually, I just realized that I don't really need to. All I really need to have is about, 8 inches sticking up, because these boards down here are 2x10s. So as long as I got 8 inches sticking up, I can bolt either of them to there solidly. It only has to hold in dirt, and not a lot of it. It's not like it's trying to hold in several hundred gallons of water or anything. So we're just going to split all these 4x4s in half. And over there I have 2x4s because I ran out of 4x4s. I do have some 4x6s I can use, but that's overkill, and I don't want to have to dig a hole that deep, because postal digger digs a 5-inch hole, so rather not have to dig 2 holes in one. And the plan is with these 2x4s is to basically split them in half, lay them on top of each other, screw them together, and split them in half again, and that'll give me 2 4x4s. Do the same with this. Any scrap I got left over I'll save. And yeah, I'm trying to use all treated if possible. That's why I'm using these nice new long boards, because a lot of the stuff I have for 2x4s, I'm not confident it's treated. I know that this board is treated. I know that board is treated because they've been laying over there in that field for 5 years, and they're still solid, so they're treated. All right, there we go. Everything's cut. I'm gonna start smushing stuff together. I need to get my scrap lumber out of here. And now it's off to digging. All right, so I got all the footers in place, and you'll be happy to note that they are all bang on 4 foot apart and 16 feet long. I got them as precise as I could possibly get them. This is probably the straightest thing I've ever built in my entire life. Good thing it, doesn't actually matter. But I want it to look pretty, because I know someone's going to complain if I don't make it look pretty. So, I've got them pretty good, and I'm going to do the inboards now. So I'm going to make them 51 inches, so that they're 48 plus 1.5 on either side. Because I'm going to need as much slop as I can, or as much wiggle room as I can on the inner boards. So I'm going to add those extra 3 inches to make everything nice and flush to the outer boards, because I got plenty of room on those 4 foots. So I'm losing daylight, so I'm going to get to that real quick and see you on the flip side. Alright, here's everything bolted on. Got most of the screws in. And I've just got everything lined up on the left side, and I've got the right side ready to be cut on the outside of the line. And I'm going to just run through here with the chainsaw again, snip off the outside of all of these, and I think that's all the daylight I got left. So I'm going to get to it before it gets pitch dark. And there they are, all trimmed up. And they weren't quite perfect. Most of them came out pretty good, but a lot of them are really short, and I'm not entirely sure why. Guess the boards are probably a little more than 48 inches. But anywho, that's pretty good. Light's getting out. I think I'm done for the day. Alright, next up, we're going to drive these 8-foot T-posts to be our permanent deer fence corners on all sides. Just going to start them with a 3-pound hammer, and then drive them with the post driver to just above the stabilizing flange. I'd rather drive them a little bit shallower, but it's better to put that in all the way and not pop a mower tire. So we'll do that, and our fence will be about 6.5 foot tall, which is fine by me. Doesn't really need to be 7 or 8 foot tall. It just needs to be tall enough that the deer can't easily discern the top. And whenever you use a post driver like this with metal posts, wear hearing protection, because you will you will get tinnitus in about 5 seconds using that thing. It's like having a bell go off right in front of your face. I ain't kidding you. So I'm gonna get to that real quick, and then after that, we're gonna start pulling this wood out and measuring what we got, and just generally taking inventory, making sure we have everything we need, and cutting what needs to be cut to length, and then putting it all back into storage and taking all the excess and moving it somewhere else. All right, with a little chainsaw action, we got ourselves the side posts. I did not have enough 16-foot boards to be able to do all 8 sides. I had 5 full boards. All of these are like, these guys are like 14 foot long. If you factor out this dog-legged, whatever you call it, joint there. So I had to cut 6 at 8 foot. So I just took all the shortest, nastiest looking ones and cut them to their 8 best feet. And what I'm going to do for those is, since I've already got these guys laid out and they're already going to go there at about 8 foot in the middle of each board, I'll just put these in the ground and then screw the 2 8-footers together to get a 16-foot wall. And if I need to reinforce that with an extra board every 4 foot, I will do that. That'll give me some added ability to partition and all that as well, but we'll figure that out at a later date. Right now, I've just got all of my boards cut, and that's as far as I'm going to go today, because the next step is going to be getting compost delivered. And I don't want these sides up when the compost gets delivered, because I want the dump truck and or trailer to be able to back right in here, dump a yard, pull forward, dump a yard, pull forward, dump a yard, pull forward, dump a yard, instead of going right there and dumping, 4 to 6 yards, and then me having to shovel all of it, 50 foot over here. That's the plan, at least. May not work out, and we may just have to get everything right there and move it by hand, but let's hope that doesn't happen. Well, bam, and just like that, with the snap of my fingers, I've built 4 beds and had 5 yards of municipal compost delivered. So this stuff is nice. I mean, it's not super fantastic, but it's nice, and at $25 a yard, can't really beat that. Well, I mean, it used to be $8 a yard, but now it's not, but it's still the best deal around. So there's the beds built. Those actually went together a lot easier than I was expecting. I didn't have to trim anything, which is bueno. And yeah, I'm just gonna go grab all my cardboard, lay it down, and put a light layer of compost in. Probably maybe a wheelbarrow or 2 per bed. And then we'll see what else we can do today. Alright, now we've got cardboard laid in. Just in 2 of them though, because I ran out. Well, 2.5. I gotta go get the rest of it from the office. You can use newspaper for this. Personally, I prefer cardboard. Way faster, way easier to work with. Not as much fuss. Harder to get a hold of than, excesses of newspaper. But works just as good, if not better. It's easier to get newspaper. It's a lot easier to mold newspaper. But I don't think it works as well for a weed barrier. And it's if you got any sort of wind like I do out here, it's not going to be fun. With the cardboard, I've just got this laid in here, and it's got enough weight to hold itself in place. What I'm going to do after I get enough of it is lay all this out, and I'm just going to put a little bit of compost on top to hold it down. And what I've been doing is pulling off all of the plastic tape. Good on Amazon for using that biodegradable cotton thread paper-based tape. Everything else, I've been pulling the plastic tape off though. It's not going to hurt your plants at all, but it's basically littering, and just not cool. And I had just barely enough cardboard. This was the last piece I put in, and as you can see, it's cutting it close. That was all the cardboard I had, plus a little bit more I scavenged, and I had exactly enough. It takes a lot of cardboard. This is 4 by 16, so 16 by 16, which is what, math, 200 and something square feet, something like that. 256, is that it? Yeah, that sounds about right. And takes a lot of cardboard, but we got it all in. And temperature's starting to drop, starting to get a bit late. I'm gonna get to shoveling, and hopefully I'll be able to get a nice like 1/2 inch layer across this whole thing, be able to call it a day, because even more bad things happen. Had that tiller, went to just run it over there, and got as far as that cut in the wood line, and it looks like the chain came off of the chain drive. So fun. Yep, broke a bush axe blade, took a chain off of a tiller, and have a dead mower battery. And I found out that the free weed eater I got doesn't have any vibration dampeners, and will give you nerve damage if you use it. Awesome. But I got my dirt, and I had barely enough cardboard. So at least the garden is not messed up today. Alright, we just mined right into the side of it, and we got 3 wheelbarrows filled up, and I'm gonna just get to shoveling. Hopefully that's all I need. Nope. We're on to wheelbarrow set number 2. Was only able to get 3 of them done. Well, it probably took 5 sets of wheelbarrows, but finally got enough. So that's what, 15, so like 4 wheelbarrows per, and that guy right there is shorter than the rest of them. So, but finally got it. I went ahead and put enough to cover up all the cardboard, just so that there's no chance of it peeling up or warping as it gets wet. And I'm just not going to level this at all, and I'm just going to let it sit and settle, let the cardboard soak up water, form to the ground, and just sort of let this naturally rest and settle as it rains over the weekend. And then we're going to come back with a crew of volunteers and distribute this until I think we've got enough. People tell you not to plant in straight compost, and you should listen to them, but I'm stupid, and I'm just going to do this anyway, because that's what I feel like. The soil we have here is great. It's just low in organic matter, and I'm doing lasagna gardening, and the whole plan is for the soil microbes to come up in and work this soil and essentially naturally till it for me, because Lord knows I can't do it with that thing. And the last thing I'm going to do today before I call it a night is I'm just going to take this bucket of 10-10-10 that I've had sitting around for the last couple of years, and we're just going to take it, and I think I'm going to put 2 of these roughly 10-ounce cups in each of these beds. Just lightly sprinkle it over, just so that there is just so that I know there is enough macronutrients in here. And that's all this is just NPK 10-10-10. pH is good out here, don't need to worry about that. Really the only thing that is low that I could use more of, that I know for a fact, is sulfur, boron, and a hint of manganese. Not so much the manganese. And I don't think the boron's going to be an issue because I'm not growing cotton, which is boron sensitive. So really it's just sulfur is the only other thing I need to add. And I think I actually have a box of calcium sulfate in somewhere. Oh no, I took it out. But I had a box of plaster of Paris, which is calcium sulfate. And I can throw some of that in there too, just to give it a little bit extra sulfur. It's pH neutral, but it's a good source of sulfur. It takes forever to break down, and sort of acts like perlite, fluffs up the soil a bit. But anyway, I'm gonna get to doing this right quick, and hopefully this cup doesn't break on me, because this has been sitting out on the porch for years, sucking up moisture. And I'm just gonna do this, except a little more coordinated like. Just get a nice light sprinkling across the entire thing. Oops. And yeah, probably gonna do 3 or 4 per, looking at how the way this is spreading. And that'll just be enough to inoculate this compost so that plants have enough to grow, because most of this is going to be from seeds or plugs, and they should have enough oomph to be able to penetrate the cardboard and get down and get micronutrients. So I just need them to have enough macros to be able to survive long enough to get there. You want them to grow fast while they still have enough micronutrition in their body to be able to, do all that biochemical, physiological whatnot they need to do. Anyway, I'm getting cold. I'm gonna get to it. And there we are. I think I did 4 and some change on this one and 3 on the rest of these. Didn't really feel like I did 4 on that. I think it was 4 light ones, so we'll just say it's 3 for all of them. And yeah, that'll be enough.